Michael Fred was 66 years old. Life had always been hard for him. Every morning, he got up when it was still dark outside. His bones creaked and his body hurt as he got ready for another day of picking up trash as a garbage collector from the busy streets. Michael didn't choose this work. Life forced him into it. Michael worked as a security guard when he was younger. But when he got older, the money from that job wasn't enough anymore. He had to start collecting garbage to earn more money and survive. The streets of Lagos were always crowded and noisy. Cars honked and market women shouted to customers. Michael drove his old garbage truck through these streets. He picked up trash bags from houses and stores. His hands were rough and his back always hurt from years of hard work. But he needed this job to survive. While Michael worked, he often thought about his life. He remembered his wife Nkem, who passed away many years ago. He thought about his 2 adult children who moved far away for jobs. Michael wished things could have been different. He wished they had more money when Nkem got sick. He wished his daughter could have finished school. He wished his son's business plan succeeded, but wishing changed nothing. Michael knew he just had to continue working hard to get by at his age of 66. One hot afternoon, while Michael was collecting trash from a rich neighborhood in Victoria Island. As he lifted a heavy trash bag, something fell out and hit the ground. It was a key. But it wasn't a normal key. The key was attached to a piece of cardboard that had 50 decibels written on it. Michael looked at the key for a long time. His first thought was to throw it away. After all, it was just another piece of trash. But something inside him said to keep it. Maybe it was hope, or maybe it was just curiosity. He put the key in his pocket and went back to work. For weeks, Michael forgot about the key. Life was hard, and he had bigger things to worry about, like paying rent for his small apartment and finding enough money for food. But one day, after picking up garbage from homes and shops, he brought it to the dump like always. When he got there and emptied the trash at the old government waste place, the key fell out of his pocket as he bent over to grab his basket. Michael almost didn't see it. He almost left it there on the ground to be thrown away with everything else. But as he turned to toss the key away, he saw something that shocked him. The words 50 dB were written big on one of the doors in that old government waste storage warehouse where he and other garbage collectors would dump trash. It was the exact same strange words that were on the key he was holding. Michael couldn't believe it. What were the odds? Out of the millions of people in Lagos, how did he find this key? And how did this key match something written here at the dump? It seemed impossible. Part of Michael wanted to run away. This was too weird. It felt dangerous, but he also really wanted to know what it meant. His heart was pounding as he walked to the door with the 50 decibel key. Looking around to make sure nobody was watching, he moved close to the doors where he saw 50 decibels on the door, and then he decided to try the key in the lock. To his surprise, it worked. He opened the door and went inside the old empty office at the warehouse waste storage facility. His heart was racing. The room was very dark and dusty inside. There was old furniture and junk everywhere. Spiderwebs touched Michael's face as he slowly stepped further in. At first, Michael didn't see anything important. He started to think this was all just a stupid joke. He almost gave up and left. But then he saw a small piece of paper on a table in the back. It had a message written on it. Under the bin. Michael looked around, confused. Under what bin? Then he saw some old metal trash cans in the corner. He went over and started pushing them out of the way. With shaking hands, Michael moved the bins one by one. Under the last bin, he found a briefcase. It was heavy and locked with a padlock. He knew he shouldn't open it here. What if someone saw? So he took the briefcase and hurried back to his truck. He put it on the seat next to him. All the way home, Michael felt like someone was watching him. Hours later, Michael was home in his small apartment. He couldn't stop looking at the briefcase on the floor. It scared him. The case was very heavy, not just in weight, but also because it was so strange. This was almost too much for him to deal with. He didn't sleep well. His mind was racing, thinking, what could be inside? Money? Drugs? Something dangerous? What if it was something dangerous? What if the person it belonged to came looking for it? These worries kept going around in Michael's mind. He was very scared. All his life, he tried to stay out of trouble. He was a good man who worked hard and lived simply. He didn't need any problems. The smart thing would be to just get rid of the briefcase and forget about it. But another thought kept coming up in his head too. Michael was old and tired. His whole life had been a struggle. His body was failing from years of hard work. He had nothing to show for all his years of being honest and working hard. Didn't he deserve a break? Didn't he deserve something good to finally happen to him, just this once, before it was too late? Throughout the night, he kept looking at the briefcase. Early in the morning, before leaving for work, he couldn't wait anymore. His hands shaking, Michael grabbed a hammer. He smashed the lock on the briefcase. It popped open. Michael looked inside and his mouth fell open. He almost fell down in shock. Inside the briefcase was more money than Michael had ever seen. Stacks of $100 bills filled every inch, each bundle neatly wrapped and containing $20,000. On top of this money was a brown envelope with documents inside. Michael stared at the money in disbelief. As a garbage man, he would need 10 lifetimes to earn this much. Was this his lucky break, the miracle he'd been praying for, or was it a dangerous mistake that would ruin his life? His hands shook as he picked up the brown envelope and pulled out the papers inside. But the words on the pages meant nothing to him. He couldn't read them because he didn't have much education. He put the documents back into the envelope. Fear grabbed Michael as he realized what this meant. Having this much money and those strange documents could be dangerous. He couldn't leave the briefcase out in the open. Surely someone would come looking for it. Questions raced through his mind. Where had this money come from? Who did it belong to? Should he give it to the police? Pacing his room, Michael struggled with what to do before making his choice. He would keep the money. Working quickly, he lifted the carpet in the middle of his room and dug a hole in the floor. Taking a black nylon bag from his closet, he carefully moved all the cash from the briefcase into it, then put the black nylon bag into the hole. He covered it with sand and the carpet, hiding any evidence of what he did. But he handled the documents differently. He put them back in their brown envelope and placed it back in the briefcase, exactly as he had found it. Then he carried the briefcase back to the old government waste storage warehouse, where he found it and returned it to where it was before, putting everything exactly as it had been, locking the door and throwing the keys away. As he went to work that morning, worry ate at him. He knew he'd spend the day listening to hear any mention of missing money, wondering if and when someone would come looking for their lost money. The next few weeks were confusing for Michael. He walked around in a daze. When he was working, all he could think about was the briefcase full of money hidden in his apartment. He jumped at every noise, seeing danger everywhere. If an old friend said hello, Michael worried they somehow knew his secret. When people whispered around him, he was sure they were talking about him. He couldn't eat. He couldn't sleep. The fear and guilt were making him feel terrible. His small apartment felt like a prison. All day and all night, the same awful thoughts kept racing through his mind. What if I get caught? What if I spend the money? What if I don't spend it? Over and over, question after question with no answers. He felt trapped. The money was supposed to help him. That's what he had hoped for when he first opened the briefcase. But now it felt like a curse. How could he ever have peace again, knowing what he had hidden? For days, Michael lived in constant fear, always listening for any news or rumors about someone looking for a missing briefcase. He went about his daily life as usual, working his garbage job and keeping a low profile, but the weight of his secret never left his mind. Days went by quietly. Then one evening, as Michael was listening to his small radio, a news report suddenly got his attention. Government officials were announcing a search for a missing senator. The senator had received $50 million for state development projects. He had disappeared after getting the money without turning in any progress reports or signing the required government papers. Even after a big search, he could not be found. Michael's heart started to pound. $50 million, the amount repeated in his mind. Could the money he found in that old government waste storage warehouse be connected to this missing senator? The words 50 mil decibels suddenly had a new, scary meaning. He turned the volume up, trying hard to catch every detail of the report. But the announcement was short and didn't explain much about how such a huge amount of money had disappeared. The report ended with just a simple request. Anyone with information should call the phone number they gave. In the following days, Michael was very worried. If this was government money, it was much more dangerous than he realized. There was a whole investigation going on. It wasn't just his secret anymore. And what about the missing senator? The mystery of his disappearance made Michael's situation even scarier. Michael knew the right thing would be returning the money and explaining everything, hoping for mercy. But he feared they might accuse him of murder since the senator was gone without a trace. However, a voice of desperate hope whispered to him. Maybe the money came to him for a reason, to finally escape poverty after a life of hard work. Could he give up this chance to change his life? Opportunities like this were once in a lifetime. For now, Michael kept the money and key hidden. He waited for the right moment to decide his next step, torn between doing what was right and seizing an incredible opportunity. Michael had no idea about the dark truth behind the money. The $50 million was actually government funds given to a senator who was about to leave office. Just days earlier, officials had released this money for important development projects in the senator's state, despite his track record of leaving previous projects incomplete. However, as soon as the senator got the money, he decided to betray the public trust. Instead of doing his duty, he saw it as a final chance for personal gain. Years of handling government funds had corrupted him, and this would be his biggest theft yet. With his term ending in just a few days, the senator had to act fast. He took the briefcase full of cash and drove to a surprising hiding place, the old government waste storage warehouse where Michael and other garbage collectors dumped their daily trash. The senator's choice was carefully planned. The facility was abandoned, rarely visited, and the last place anyone would think to look for $50 million in government funds. In the dark of night, the senator hid the briefcase, planning to retrieve it after vacating his government residence, but before the next administration took office. He had meticulously planned to flee the country before his final day. To mark the hiding spot, he wrote 50 mil DB on a piece of cardboard and stuck it to one of the identical office doors in the old government waste storage warehouse using gum. He also locked the door with a padlock and marked the key with the same code. The senator told no one about the money, not even his wife. However, fate intervened that very night. Unable to contain his excitement, the senator took some cash and secretly went to a nightclub to celebrate. As he drank more and more alcohol that night, his mind became unclear and confused. Even as he was very drunk, he still chose to drive home. He sped down dark streets and shouted happily in his drunken state. Then the senator lost control of his car and crashed. The crash was so bad that he died instantly. His car's contents, including a key marked 50 mil DB, scattered all over the road. By a cruel twist of fate, the key landed in the exact spot where Michael found it, completely unaware of its connection to the hidden millions or the tragic story behind it. The senator's secret died with him that night, and no one, not his wife, his family, or a single soul, knew about the fortune hidden away in that old warehouse, marked only by a cryptic note and a lost key. People who saw the crash called the police right away. Emergency workers came and cleared away the damaged car from the road. Paramedics quickly tried to help the senator and took him to the hospital, not knowing he was already dead. While looking through the crashed car, the police found out he was a senator. They also found his phone and used it to call his wife. When the senator's wife got to the hospital, she did not hear good news about her husband getting better. Instead, the doctors told her he was dead. She fell down crying, and people in the hospital halls could hear her sad cries. The hospital staff moved her husband's body to the morgue to get ready for his funeral. She was left wondering about many things, what had happened to him and what he had been doing in his last hours alive. Little did anyone know that the senator had died carrying a secret worth millions. In a cruel twist of fate, the key to that secret had tumbled from the wreckage of his car and landed among the everyday trash on the streets of Lagos. While the senator's body lay in the morgue and his family grieved, unaware of the hidden fortune, the key and the money had made their way into the hands of Michael, a garbage collector. The day after the senator's tragic accident, government officials visited his wife to offer their condolences. During the conversation, they mentioned the $50 million that had been allocated to the senator for his state's development projects. The officials asked about the funds, expecting the senator to have brought the money home or deposited it in a bank account. To their surprise, the senator's wife told them that her husband had never returned home after the meeting where he received the money. She had been waiting for him all night, growing increasingly worried until she received the devastating call about his accident. Alarmed by this news, the government officials immediately suspected that the money might have been in the senator's vehicle at the time of the crash. They started an urgent investigation to find the missing funds. The officials asked the police department for help with the search. Together, they thoroughly examined the wreckage of the senator's car, hoping to find any trace of the briefcase containing the $50 million. However, despite their careful search, they found no sign of the money. Next, the investigators looked at the security camera footage from the road where the accident had happened. They watched hours of video, trying to piece together the senator's final moments and see if anyone had gone to the crash site and taken the money. But even after reviewing every frame, they found no evidence of the briefcase or any suspicious activity. As the investigation continued, the police questioned witnesses and searched the area around the crash site for any clues. They interviewed the emergency responders, hospital staff, and anyone who might have had contact with the senator that night. Still, no one seemed to have any information about the missing funds. Meanwhile, Michael kept working as a garbage collector, completely unaware of the intense search going on around him. He had no idea that the key he had found and the strange 50 decibels label were linked to the missing millions he had in his house and the senator's tragic death. As days turned into weeks, the investigation started to slow down. Without any solid leads or proof, the government officials and police were at a loss. The money seemed to have disappeared into thin air, leaving everyone confused and frustrated. They had no idea that the money they were all searching for was in the hands of a garbage man who had accidentally found a secret that would change his life forever. Months later, Michael couldn't stop thinking about the radio news report. The story of a missing senator and $50 million in missing development funds bothered him. Could the money he found be related? The matching number, 50 mil dB, seemed too much of a coincidence, but he couldn't be sure. What if it was completely different money? The papers in the briefcase might have had the answer, but Michael couldn't read them due to his lack of education. Not wanting to involve anyone else, he'd already returned the documents to the facility with the empty briefcase. These thoughts kept Michael up at night as he lay on his thin mattress. The money hidden under his floor felt like both a blessing and a curse. If it was the government's money, using it could be very dangerous. But if it wasn't? If it was something else entirely? Maybe this was the miracle he had been hoping for. After a lot of thought, Michael made a decision. He would use the money to change his life and the lives of others, but he would do it carefully and slowly, in ways that wouldn't attract attention. If this was his one chance at a better life, he had to take it. But he needed to be smart about it. With careful planning, Michael started to prepare for his new life and got ready to leave his old life behind. He knew that staying in the same city where the senator's death and the missing money had caused such a stir would be too risky. He decided to start over in another state, far away from his past. He would use the money to help others and create opportunities for those who had faced hardship in life. The next day, Michael woke up feeling a new sense of purpose. He knew his life was about to change forever, and he was ready to take the first steps toward his new future. With a heavy heart, he quit his job at the garbage collection company where he had worked for so many years. It was a bittersweet moment, saying goodbye to the job that had helped him through hard times, but he knew it was necessary for his plan to work. Back at his apartment, Michael carefully dug up the hidden briefcase filled with the missing millions. He moved the money into a plain, dirty bag. He knew carrying so much cash would be risky, so he split the money into smaller amounts and packed them discreetly into his luggage. With his belongings and the money safely packed, Michael got on a bus going to a faraway state he had never been to before. He chose a place far enough away to start over without worrying about being recognized or linked to his past life. After a long trip, Michael arrived in his new town, feeling both excited and nervous. He found a small, cheap apartment and settled in, keeping a low profile and avoiding any unnecessary interactions with his neighbors. The next morning, Michael began to put his plan into action. He knew he had to be careful and start small to avoid drawing attention to himself. He went out into the town, getting to know the local businesses and community centers. Using a small amount of the money, Michael bought some simple, used furniture and essential household items to make his apartment feel more like a home. He also bought a used car, nothing too flashy, but reliable enough to get around town without needing public transportation. As Michael settled into his new life, he carefully began to carry out his plan for using the money to make a positive difference. He started by investing in small real estate properties, using his good judgment and new resources to find undervalued homes and apartments that he could buy, fix up and rent out or sell for a profit. Over time, he gradually grew his real estate investments, putting the profits into bigger and more ambitious projects. He focused on creating affordable housing and improving neglected neighborhoods, always aiming to make life better for the people in his new community. At the same time, Michael looked for ways to support local charities and fund important community projects. He made anonymous donations to food banks, homeless shelters, youth programs, and job training centers. He worked with community leaders to identify areas that needed help and find ways to make a meaningful impact, all while being careful not to draw too much attention to himself or the source of his wealth. As the months passed, Michael began to feel more settled and secure in his new surroundings. With a stable foundation in place, he decided it was finally time to reunite with his family and bring them to join him in building a new life together. He reached out to his children, explaining that he had come into some money and wanted to help them start fresh in a new place. Overjoyed and relieved to hear from their father after so long, they agreed to join him, packing up their own lives and making the journey to Michael's new hometown. With his family by his side, Michael felt a renewed sense of purpose and determination. He helped his children get settled, using his resources to support their education and career goals. Together, they continued to invest in their community, finding ways to help their neighbors and create opportunities for others who had faced struggles like their own. As the years went by, Michael's wise investments and kind efforts began to pay off. The once struggling neighborhood blossomed with new businesses, community centers, parks, and schools. Families who had once lived in poverty now had stable homes, good jobs, and brighter futures. The community also benefited from new roads, which the senator had failed to deliver. Although no one knew the true source of Michael's wealth, his quiet generosity and dedication to his community earned him a reputation as a humble, caring leader. Looking back on his incredible journey, Michael felt a deep sense of gratitude and fulfillment. Though the path had been far from easy, he knew that he had made the right choice in using the missing millions to build a legacy of hope, opportunity, and second chances, not just for himself and his family, but for countless others whose lives he had touched along the way. It was a testament to the power of resilience, determination, and the enduring human spirit in the face of even the most challenging obstacles. Michael used government funds to help others and improve lives, building affordable housing, supporting charities, and creating opportunities that the corrupt senator never would have. His actions still stemmed from taking money that was meant for public development. Where the senator saw the funds as a means for personal enrichment and betrayed the public trust, Michael, despite his initial ethical compromise, ultimately fulfilled the money's intended purpose by investing in community development, affordable housing, and programs to help those in need.